welcome back to another installment of Dark Times. I'm your host, Dash Finley, and as usual, I am bringing you the week in horror news from movies to TV shows and beyond. Now, once again, we are coming to you live and direct on Super News, checking in with all the horror fans in our great community, so please do not be shy. Check in the comments. Let me know your thoughts, your feelings, your rage-filled diatribes. I want them all because that's what this is about. Interactivity, folks, is the way of the future. So, I have a lot of news items to get to. Let's jump right into it. First of all, a Stephen King TV adaptation. Well, that's novel. I haven't seen one of those before. We got some new info on Netflix's Gerald's Game adaptation. So most Stephen King stories end up being molded into films and TV shows, as you well know. But Gerald's Game was actually long considered the exception. King's 1982 erotic suspense novel was long considered unfilmable, but Netflix and director Mike Flanagan have taken up that challenge and are producing a feature film on that very subject of adaptation. Now, of course, Mike Flanagan is the helmer of Oculus and Ouija Origin of Evil, so the guy's got some serious horror chops. For those who are unaware, the book follows a woman who accidentally kills her husband after being handcuffed to a bed in a kinky sex ritual. As one does, unable to free herself, she slowly begins to slip into insanity as the voices in her head manifest as visions. Producer Trevor Macy had this to say of the adaptation. He said, quote, "I think the challenge is, if you're a fan of the book, so much of it takes place internally in her head. So how do you do that in a cinematic way was the big question. But it's done not quite in the way it is in the book, but at the same time, it's a very faithful adaptation. But there's a storytelling device that we use that the book doesn't." Perhaps that means flashbacks. I'm just going out on a limb here. It's possible. Stephen King saw the movie and he called it horrifying, hypnotic, and terrific. A series of great adjectives to hear from the master of horror. Let's take it to the comments. Do we have any thoughts, opinions, feelings, etc. on Gerald's Game? Okay, Gerald's Game. Blake Blackburn says, Dash, hey man. Hey Blake, good to see you again. I know you wanted us to go live, and here we are live. Super live. He also says, anything Stephen King rules. The best is it. We're going to get to that later. Don't you worry. Jamie McCormick also says, any Stephen King is welcome. And Hollywood has gotten that message very much. It seems like we have, every day there's a new Stephen King adaptation announced. So definitely something that's happening. Okay, here we go. Everyone wants me to get to Blomkamp's Alien movie. Not much news on that subject, though we do have some Alien-related tidbits later. Don't worry. Gerald's Game. Okay, well that's the story. Personally, I have not read the novel, but Stephen King adaptations can be hit or miss because the guy's so prolific, as we've seen in the comments, that, you know, they can't all be winners. But I like Mike Flanagan quite a bit, and Stephen King's words of encouragement are very heartening, so I look forward to checking this out when it premieres early next year. Okay, I want to move on to my next item of business. We got a little trailer here. It's a trailer for Sergio G. Sanchez's directorial debut, Marrowbone. Now, Sergio Sanchez is best known to viewers stateside as the writer of the classic The Orphanage, which is one of my personal favorite horror films of the past decade. And do we have that trailer ready? No, we don't. So I'm going to talk a little bit about it. So Marrowbone follows a young man and his 4 younger siblings who have kept secret the death of their beloved mother in order to remain together, but are plagued by a sinister presence in the sprawling manor in which they live. Sounds kind of Mama-esque. Let's take it to the trailer and see how we feel about it.
Once you cross that line, there'll be no memories. Our story begins here.
Wouldn't it be nice if we were older, then we wouldn't have to wait so long? And wouldn't it be nice to live together?
There's someone in the house. Nothing, no one, ever will separate us.
Happy times together we've been spending. I wish that every kiss was never ending. Oh, wouldn't it be nice?
Wow. pretty creepy and atmospheric stuff. I particularly like the spared down rendition of the Beach Boys, Wouldn't It Be Nice? That seems to be the sort of trailer thing du jour, is to have a version of an old pop or folk or rock song that's sung by like one creepy waifish woman with no backing instrumentals. Apparently that's just every trailer maker in Hollywood got the memo on that one, but it works particularly well in the trailer for Marrowbone. Sergio G. Sanchez, as I said, making his directorial debut. He wrote The Orphanage. This definitely has a little bit of that vibe to it, kind of gothic feel. And, of course, Orphanage director J.A. Bayona, who has now made it to the big time and is directing Jurassic World 2, has hopped on this sucker as a producer. So definitely, if you like The Orphanage, certainly check out Marrowbone. I don't think it has a release date yet, but I'm imagining probably later this year. So yeah, it's a link and a lifeline back to the world of indie horror from someone who's graduated to the upper echelons of Hollywood. Always good to see. Moving along to a little bit more of a familiar topic to me and probably to you. There's been some rights issues that are holding up the production of M. Night Shyamalan's Tales from the Crypt Redux, if you would. And that's not how you're supposed to say it, but I'm going to continue saying Redux. So TNT's would-be horror universe appears to be rotting away, pun very much intended. Earlier in the week, the cable channel passed on its pilot adaptation of the vampire classic Let the Right One In, and now reports are coming down the pipeline that M. Night Shyamalan's Tales from the Crypt Redux is struggling through some rights issues. So a TNT spokesperson said of the problem, quote, "There are underlying rights to this classic vintage property that are complicated. TNT and others have been pursuing a solution for more than a year, and significant progress is being made. We look forward to the potential for further active development of this valuable franchise once the clearance process is fully resolved." Now, if you translate the legalese, that means this is not going anywhere anytime soon. Unfortunately, it's sad because back in the heady days of mid-2016, Tales from the Crypt was meant to be part of TNT's up-and-coming horror block, which was to include a number of shows. There was one called Time of Death, one called Creatures, and the aforementioned Let the Right One In reboot. I would have been very excited to see this. I love all horror anthology shows, and I particularly have a soft spot for Tales from the Crypt, both the classic EC Comics and the 1990s HBO show, which spawned some of my favorite episodes of horror-related television of all time. At the same time, I had mixed feelings about Shyamalan's involvement. I don't know if he was the right person for this franchise. Do we have any thoughts or opinions on the matter of Tales from the Crypt? Channing Spade Milburn, hey Channing, what's up, says, translation, TNT wants 85% plus of the money. Very possible, especially considering that M. Night Shyamalan has various contractual stipulations from what I've read where he gets a large cut of all grosses involved. Maybe that wasn't sitting well with the executives. Ronaldo Reyes Calderon Jr. says, I wish Tales from the Crypt was with Eli Roth. An interesting take, Ronaldo. Certainly would have had a different feel, probably gorier. Jamie McCormick says, I love Tales from the Crypt. Same here, Jamie. Incredible show, and I suggest that you check out the old comics from the 50s if you haven't yet. Very groundbreaking stuff. Yeah, it seems like everyone loves Tales from the Crypt, and why shouldn't they? It's an incredible property that deserves to be handled right, so if it takes a little extra time to do so, why not? You know, it couldn't really hurt, it could only help. That is to say, if it gets made. We'll find out. Moving along to another piece of intellectual property, as it were, intellectual being used very loosely. I'm talking about the adaptation of the video game Rampage, which has begun production this week. So, if there's anything audiences in 2017 love, it is Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and giant CGI animated monsters, clearly based on the debut of course, Fate of the Furious this past weekend, as well as the success of Kong, Skull Island, and a number of other films. So, Warner Brothers and New Line Cinema thought to themselves, why don't we combine the two? And that's what we've got with Rampage. So, of course, Rampage is based on the Midway-produced 1986 arcade game of the same name. It follows a trio of gigantic monsters, a gorilla named George, a lizard named Lizzie, and a wolf named Ralph, as they wreak havoc on major cities and landmarks across North America while trying to survive against onslaughts of military forces. Okay. It's directed by San Andreas' Brad Payton, another rock-led disaster film. And Rampage is on track for an April 20th, 2018 release. It has an ensemble cast, including the aforementioned Rock, Naomi Harris of Moonlight fame. That's an interesting transition from Moonlight to Rampage. Jeffrey Dean Morgan and Malin Ackerman, as well as several others. So yeah, from a callous sort of corporate point of view, this makes perfect sense. It's a very cheap IP compared to Godzilla, King Kong, and the rest of the legendary monsterverse. And these kaiju creatures are very much in vogue, so I'm sure they dug through the crates, came up with one that fit the bill, and here we are. However, it is worth noting, I don't want to critique before I've seen any material, but unlike some of those other properties like Kong and Godzilla, etc., Rampage doesn't really have any kind of emotional core or character-based ideas from what I can see. I mean, it's literally based on just a side-scrolling arcade game where the objective is to destroy a city. I don't know how you mold or sculpt any kind of drama out of that. Maybe they're not going to try to. It could have more of a comedic edge. I don't know. But for now, it's sounding, pardon the pun, a little two-dimensional. Two-dimensional, get it? Okay, let's go to the comments. Let's see what everyone's saying. Let's see if we have any feelings or thoughts on this. Okay. Tony Wenstrup says, I have yet to see a very good video game adaptation. The best I can recall is Wreck-It Ralph. Very fair, Tony, and that's not even an adaptation insofar as I know. It's sort of an original concept that cobbles together other video games. And I agree, very hard to do. I saw Assassin's Creed in theaters recently, and I'd do anything to get those 2 hours back, so I feel you on that one. Rachel Bertram says, I played this on the PlayStation. Great game, but sounds like a terrible movie. Rachel, I agree. I don't understand how you can possibly make a movie out of this franchise, but then again, I haven't played the game, full disclosure, so... Alexi Hernandez, however, says, haha, I love that game. Well, Alexi, maybe you'll be in the audience for this film. And, okay, Ron Steffieri says, I won't waste my money on this one. Rod, I can't say I blame you, although let's wait. Let's reserve judgment for a trailer, some kind of promotional clip. I can't poo-poo the movie before I've seen anything from it. Doesn't seem fair, even though I've just spent the past 10 minutes doing exactly that. That's called duality. That's the duality of man. Moving along to another piece of reboot, remake, adaptation, sequel land, of course. That's the bulk of what we discuss on the show. Bill Condon of Beauty and the Beast fame has been slated to direct the new Bride of Frankenstein movie. So Universal Pictures has their shared monster cinematic universe. I've discussed it ad nauseum here. And they haven't totally decided on what order they're going to be unveiling these bad boys after the release of The Mummy on June 9th. However, it seems like the Bride of Frankenstein reboot might be first in line because they've attached Bill Condon, the director of the new Beauty and the Beast, as well as 2 of the Twilight films and Chicago and Dreamgirls and many others, has been slated to direct the remake of James Whale's classic 1935 Frankenstein sequel, Bride of Frankenstein. The remake is being produced by Alex Kurtzman and Chris Morgan, who are sort of shepherding the entire cinematic universe through all the connected films. It's also being written by studio script sage David Koepp, who did the first 2 Jurassic Park movies, Da Vinci Code, and a million other movies from the 90s to early 2000s. Now, there is also said to be some kind of, they reported this in the announcement, a feminist lean to the new story, which is crazy because it's acting as though there wasn't a feminist lean to the original film, which is absurd because James Whale's 1935 classic was way ahead of its time and had a dominating performance by Elsa Lanchester, who blew even the famed Boris Karloff off the screen. But, of course, probably very few people involved in the marketing of this film have even seen the original film, so why would they ever mention it? As I've talked about here many times, it seems like Universal's strategy for the MonsterVerse is populating it with as many A-list actors as possible. We've got, of course, Tom Cruise playing the lead in The Mummy. He's rumored to be the Van Helsing character, perhaps, the monster hunter that connects all the different franchises. We've got Johnny Depp slated to be the Invisible Man. Russell Crowe is Dr. Jekyll / Mr. Hyde. Javier Bardem is the Frankenstein's monster. And, you guessed it, The Rock is supposed to be the Wolfman, because, you know, you have to add The Rock to every major franchise to get those sweet, sweet box office dollars. Now, as of 2015, several outlets have reported that Angelina Jolie was being pursued to star as the bride, which actually I think could be a pretty good choice, though it's unclear whether that still remains to be the case. Now, there's no way of knowing how this Universal business will go until The Mummy drops. I'm still cautiously optimistic to see it. However, I'm a little bit concerned about the action-heavy tone that some of the promotional materials have taken, so hopefully Universal realizes that to make a good horror movie, you have to stay within the confines of the horror genre. But let's take it out to our commenters, see what everyone thinks about this. Jamie McCormick says, Bride of Frankenstein is a classic. Hope they don't ruin it with CGI and Hollywood bigwigs. Well, Jamie, only time will tell. No comment. Daniel Maynard says, I'm not sure I like the direction that they're taking with these movies. Well, Daniel, I'm not sure I'm crazy about it either, but we have to wait and see. I will definitely be there to check out The Mummy. I even like the Brendan Fraser ones quite a bit, so I still have to keep the faith going, keep the faith strong. Nick Dorset, hello Nick, good to see you again, says, hey Dash, wouldn't it be cool if these reboots had some kind of relation to the originals? Nick, I completely agree. That's what I'm looking for here, but it's just I don't really see the lineage of the classic Universal Studios monsters being represented very well, especially by the press releases, which barely acknowledge them. So I don't know. I don't have much faith about that. Reynaldo Reyes Calderon says, did they forget about Dracula Untold? That was the first one. It was originally supposed to be the first one, but after it underperformed at the box office, they have scrapped it, and it is not related in any way to this monster verse, as it were. Let's see. Alexi Hernandez says, Jesus Christ, more rock. That's right, Alexi. Don't you want more rock? More rock. Obey. You must want more rock in every movie. Channing Spade Milburn says, you know they'll add blood and gore. Channing, I don't know. I think they're going to try and keep these things PG-13, I would imagine, to maximize box office potential. I think it would actually be smart, money-wise anyway, with like Deadpool and Logan, to add more violence, even though it wouldn't stay true to the tone and spirit of the originals. So we'll see. And Blake Blackburn says, The Rock's character should actually be Wolfman. Maybe The Rock is better suited to be Wolfman than he is to some of these franchises. I can't speak before I've seen the material. Anything has to be better than the Benicio del Toro one. So, I can't sip on my haterade there. Andrea Elizabeth Lucy McLaughlin says, the direction is interesting, but if they look at them more as tribute movies instead of reboots, people might take them more seriously. And finally, one more comment. Mark Roberts Jr. says, do you think this will lead to a Suicide Squad-esque team-up or a giant monster brawl? Hard to say. I think a lot of it depends on how Godzilla vs. King Kong does. If that's a hit, then they'll all be fighting, which would be truer to the Universal films like House of Frankenstein, House of Dracula, etc. I don't know. Only time will tell. So, moving along to we got another trailer. We got another trailer lined up. I'm returning once again to my habit of plugging original horror films that are not based on a book or another film or TV show or sequel, regardless of their presumptive quality. And that is the trailer for the new film Night World, starring Robert Englund. So let's check out that bad boy, and then we'll come back and discuss.
You really think I should go to Sofia?
It's an amazing city, and with your background, you're a perfect fit for the gig.
We've been expecting you, Mr. Anderson.
What kind of business do you guys run out of this place other than 4 apartments and a 3-story building? What do you keep back there, King Kong?
As if even you get the slightest inkling of something strange, use this. Someone will answer and instruct you what to do.
What are you doing?
I am listening.
What kind of work do you do over there? I never see anybody going or coming from that place.
I have a bad feeling about this place. These people are hiding something from me. Hello?
I did what you are doing now. Until my eyesight was taken from me. Do not go into the hangar alone.
This place is so cool. Who is she?
It's my wife. My late wife.
Do you believe in the afterlife? This building held the power to bring them back.
You're not real. You can't be real.
It's me. You're Anna.
If you do not do as I ask, everything you know, everything you love, will end.
Yeah. So, that's what I get for plugging original horror movies. This has happened quite a few times, you know. I'm just trying to support the arts, trying to support people going outside the box, but it often doesn't end well, as seems to be the case with this film. So, first of all, if you don't know who Robert Englund is, you have to turn off the show right now. No, I'm kidding. He's the guy who played Freddy Krueger, of course. You should really know that, but whatever. I'll let it slide. Anyway, Night World, the producers of Night World, they plug Robert Englund as the star of the movie. But from what I can see, that honor actually belongs to one Jason London. Superstar Jason London. Bit player in films such as Man on the Moon, Dazed and Confused. London appears as an LAPD officer who takes a job as the head of security for a creepy old apartment building in Bulgaria. Shortly thereafter, he experiences bizarre, terrifying, blah, 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 generic, same stuff you've seen a million times, whatever. We get it. I find it funny that, you know, a lot of these, like, direct-to-video or less films are shot in Bulgaria and Romania and places like that for tax reasons, and they pretend to be like it's in New York or, like, London or something. This one just comes right, it's in Bulgaria, it's set in Bulgaria. They didn't even try to dress it up as another city. It's very, very straightforward. So Robert Englund apparently has basically what amounts to a cameo as the former manager of the building, who will likely act, of course, as an exposition machine who explains everything about the dark, cookie-cutter underworld to our protagonist. But, however, you know, maybe I'm being unfair here because Robert Englund, presumably not under any duress, said that this was, quote, one of the scariest scripts he'd read in a long time. I don't know if that's a comment on the film itself or on the caliber of scripts that are being sent to Robert Englund, but I'm not liking the look of this. I want to support it because it's not an adaptation or a reboot. I really do, but they're making it hard for me out here, guys. It's a struggle. The struggle is real. Do we have any comments on this? I don't know. I don't know what to say here. Yes. Audrey Rosalind Collins says SMH. SMDH, Audrey Rosalind Collins. Even add an F in there. All kinds of shaking, all kinds of heads here. But you know what? We have some faith. People are keeping the faith. Blake Blackburn says, gotta see anything with Englund in it. He's the bomb. I agree, Blake. Robert Englund is the bomb. I want to support him. It's a crucible. Mark Hanneman says, not sure how I feel about this one. I'll wait for the DVD. I don't think you're going to have to wait. I think it's going right on into that DVD. Jason Lewis Wright says, this is amazing. People actually like this movie. You know what? Maybe I spoke too soon, guys. I shouldn't be so cynical. Lionel Turner says, it looks good and creepy to me. People like Jason London. Jason London is not someone I'm familiar with, but he has a big internet fan base here. John Lewis Wright says, Jason London has deserved his star for years. And Jamie McCormick says, Jason London. All right, Jason London. Good for you, man. Anthony Horton says it looks good. And Larney says the trailer makes me curious about more. Okay, all right, I was way off. I'm way off on this. Night World is a promising film. I'm encouraging you guys to see it. If it looks good to you, please see it so that we can support original horror film. Okay, I'm going to move on to a slightly more pressing and more interesting issue probably to you guys, which is Ridley Scott has suggested that future Alien sequels or prequels, whatever the case may be, could digitally recreate Ripley. Interesting. So, after de-aging Michael Douglas in Ant-Man and resurrecting the GOAT, Peter Cushing, from the dead in Rogue One, Hollywood CGI artisans have received a new assignment from Sir Ridley, which is recreate Sigourney Weaver's Ripley and make her young again. So, we all know that Ridley Scott is planning a new series of prequels that will lead directly into the events of the 1979 Alien. There was the less than amazing Prometheus that got things going. And then we have next month's Alien Covenant, which will delve deeper still. Originally, there was a Neil Blomkamp Alien movie somewhere in that timeline, but that seems to have been scrubbed in favor of Ridley. Sir Rid. Getting rid of the competition. You like that? Okay. So, as of now, there are plans for 2 more prequels to follow Covenant, but people internet-wide have been wondering, will they bring back the iconic character of Ripley? So, as per a new interview with Ridley Scott, the answer is looking in the affirmative. He said, quote, "Right now we got a 10-page synopsis for the next 2 films, and in regards to using CGI to bring back Ripley, you could do that. You could, and you just might." It's been rumored for a while that Ripley's appearance will actually be teased in Alien Covenant. I don't know if that counts as a spoiler because it's still up in the air. And some have commented that Ripley may in fact be the daughter of that film's protagonist, Daniels. Though that also has yet to be confirmed, so I'm not going to say that either one is true objectively. So either way, it seems like digitally recreating stars of years past is the new in thing to do. It's just gotten more and more acceptable over the years. Sometimes it works. As I said, the young Michael Douglas, or young Tony Scott, young Iron Man, whatever. We've seen a lot of that recently. Tony Stark, not to be confused with the late, great Tony Scott. That's another issue altogether. Got rip on the brain. Okay. So, but these digital recreations can be working wonders. They can totally revolutionize the look of film. At the same time, sometimes they can have mixed results. As in, Peter Cushing in Rogue One, sometimes I thought treaded the uncanny valley, where he got a little bit of that dead-eyed kind of Robert Zemeckis Polar Express look going on. I wouldn't want that for my Ripley. I don't think that would work. But at the same time, if they can do it well with some subtlety and nuance, I say why not? I don't know. What do you guys think? Is this sacrilege? Nick Dorset says, "Is CGI Fountain of Youth the new bandwagon?" That's a good way of putting it, Nick, and it seems like it very well may be. It's like the new trend. Also worth noting, kind of a callback to the Tales from the Crypt, I think one of the first uses of this was for that Tales from the Crypt episode with Humphrey Bogart, where they used a very crude version of this technology to reanimate him and bring him back to life. So, a little tidbit there. Reynaldo Reyes Calderon says, "Part 2 of Alien was my favorite film with Bill Paxton, R.I.P. Game over, man. Game over. I hope that they can use CGI to bring Bill back." Same here, you know. I feel like it's a fitting tribute to lost stars of years past. Brandy Stanton says, "Ripley was the best." Agreed, Brandy. That's why I'd love to see her again, but it seems like, wouldn't it be good if it was a sequel and we could just get Sigourney Weaver at her current age instead? She's a good actress, I'm sure she'd be game. Lionel Turner says, "Bringing Ripley back would be awesome." So it seems like mostly people are on board, although Dan Buranowski says, "Don't do this. The CGI recreations never look good. See Carrie Fisher in Rogue One." That's another one, Dan. I agree. The more human looking the character is, the more well lit the situation is, the harder it goes. Anthony Horton says, "I wish they wouldn't, but it seems like they will." That about says it all, Anthony. I think they certainly will, but I can't say it's a bad thing right off the bat. Okay, so moving on to my last subject of the day. I feel like we're all worn out from talking about it after the trailer exploded the internet into shrapnel 2 weeks ago. Great trailer, huge amount of hype behind it. But a group of intrepid young filmmakers on the internet have created a little parody version of the It trailer starring a fast food icon. Do we have that pulled up? Let's check it out and we will discuss it after the jump.
Happy birthday, buddy. Go on, blow out your candles, eh? What you wish for?
Wish that my friends were still alive.
We're approaching the 1-year anniversary of the playground slaughter, which left only one survivor.
How's he been? Very quiet. Do you believe in monsters?
Monsters don't exist, darling. No monsters up there.
We're on the closet down here.
I saw something. There was this clown. Yeah, I saw it too. It's all connected to McDonald's. It's where Ron lives. Hey, what are you doing? What happened? It's not me, man. Just turn it off. Just turn it off, dude. It's not me. Just turn it off. Just turn it off. Turn it off, man. It's do it. Just turn it off. Turn it off. It's not me. Turn it off.
Who wants KFC?
Dad, no, George!
Who the fuck are you?
Pennywise.
Oh, hair for the kids?
Yeah.
All the kids are just down the street. Oh, I'll meet you over there. There's only one clown in this city, you fat boob.
So there you have it. Ronald McDonald in an It parody, directed by Danny and Michael Philippou. I respect their effort and their gumption. It looks pretty good. The production value is fairly high. Some nice laughs and some cool practical effects. So good on you guys. Good on you, Philippou brothers. You've created a pretty funny and entertaining parody. However, I found Ronald kind of disturbing, but really he's nothing compared to the cosmic darkness encapsulated by purple turnip monster Grimace and the disfigured leprous elf Hamburglar. Those two I never quite saw. It's like that was like a Lovecraftian horror where the image was burned into my retinas after seeing them. So I feel like they would be a lot scarier for any kind of horror homage than Ronald. But I get it, clowns, clowns of a feather. But it is interesting that considering its a family-friendly kind of image that McDonald's has always projected like monsters and strange mythical beasts for its advertising campaigns. I don't know, it seems a little off, but then again, you know what? I've eaten my fair share of Mickey D's, and I feel like the word that does come to mind eventually is horror, but less said about that, the better. I'm out of time here for... Oh, wait. McDonald's is always a hot topic. I can't cut it short. Nick Dorset says, good thing I'm sitting on the toilet right now. Nick, that is a good thing indeed. Did you eat McDonald's recently? What's going on? Brooke Hennig says, I want this to be real so bad. It is real. Oh, you want a real feature film adaptation? Well, we got to talk to McDonald's reps about that. Johnny Lewis Wright says, I'd believe it more if that scary walking Happy Meal was a killer. This is what I'm talking about. Every McDonald's franchise character is like a murdery monster, basically. I don't understand why. Trevor Randolph says, lol, yes. Carlos Phoenix says, does he kill Wendy of Wendy's? Up in the air. That would have been a lot funnier, actually, if it was the Wendy's girl like looking into the sewer grate. That would be great. I feel like the Burger King is even scarier than Ronald McDonald, actually. Those ads they made. Patterson Keller says, Supersize Me. There's a McDonald's-related horror movie, to be sure. And Sky Patterson. Hey, Sky. Just a general shout-out to Sky Patterson. And, everyone seems to love this, so good on you, the filmmakers. I think it's pretty cool. Inventive stuff. Keep it up. More horror, comedy, hybrids, the better by me. Unfortunately, that's all the time I have for today. Thank you all so much for joining. Big shout out to everyone in the horror community. And, I appreciate the love. Tune in next week for another installment of Dark Times. Have a good one, everyone.